Why are you laughing already? This is how we're going to start the podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Salud Cabrones podcast. I am Danny Villegas.
And I am Javier Ledesma.
And before we get started, we ask you to like, comment, subscribe, and share the Salud Cabrones podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. And follow us on all social media platforms at Salud Cabrones podcast. Javier, we got one of the wrestling brothers with us in the house today. Mm-hmm. Me and dude, actually, me and this dude started around the same time.
Really? Did you guys? I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, we sure did. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up. And this is his real name, so don't think I'm making it up. Mr. Logan Woodcock.
That's why you were laughing way before it.
Yeah. No.
Emphasis.
Yeah. So
Woodcock.
just to let everyone know, yes, that is actually my real name. So he is pronouncing that correct as well.
Woodcock.
Which I'm surprised because so many people don't want to say that. They're always like, oh, it's Woodstock, Woodrock, Wood something.
Woodcock, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Woodcock.
Logan's like, no, say it.
He's like, say it.
And honestly, if I did porn, I'd have our name already.
Right there, Woodcock.
That's my name, right?
That's how I'd be your name, Woodcock.
Have you ever figured out or where that name comes from as far as like family lineage?
Yeah, it's British, and it's literally a bird. That's what it is. It's just there's a bird that was there.
With
and
a big old dongo, right?
Man.
Just flying around, just swinging meat.
Imagine that. Bird flying and a fucking big dick just hanging as he's flying.
It's a horrible way to start the episode, man.
Fucking flies by, hits someone in the head. Oh, what the fuck?
So that's a bird, huh?
Oh yeah, it's the lamest possible origin you can have for a name.
And then your work name is Steele.
Yes,
Steele.
So
Logan Steele and Logan Woodcock.
I think it would have been funnier if it would have been like Steel Cock.
I was gonna say, people have said, why don't you just do Steel Cock?
Dude, no, thanks for coming, bro. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me. It's I feel like it's been a while. Like I remember.
Yeah, we talked about this.
And it's also weird hearing everything because I'm so used to listening to you guys' episodes. Yeah. And then hearing the intro, being here is weird because it's like it feels like I'm listening to an actual episode of the podcast, but I'm in it. It's kind of surreal. It's really crazy.
Oh man!
So and honestly, I like what you guys do. I've shared a bunch of the stuff on Facebook. I don't know how many other people try to share your stuff, but
I appreciate that
every time I listen to it.
You.
Yeah, you know. So and
it's a real supporter right there.
And it's crazy how much it's taken off for you guys. Like I remember one of the first episodes listening to. I think it was either Scott or GQ or Jimmy or somebody. One of the three.
Mm-hmm. GQ was the first one.
Was okay. So yeah, and it's just where you guys have taken off since then.
Your former tag partner.
Yeah.
Picture perfect.
Picture perfect.
I mean, he still looks like that. I don't.
Well, you both got matching hair now.
Ow!
Yeah, true.
Joke, asshole.
Both got the matching hair and the long beards now, bro.
I'm sure he's sitting at home going, "Fuck it, god damn it! I thought this was a safe zone. So fucking GQ.
But like I said, man, we go way back, man. We both came in together, man.
Yeah, you started I think the month after me because I remember or maybe like a couple weeks because I know I was late August of 2008 and then you joined like September.
Yep.
So it was like literally a couple weeks later you were there and it's the whole training journey together was pretty crazy too. So although he got his debut before I did and he got to win a title way before I ever did.
Did I debut before you?
Yeah, you did. I was so mad.
Fucking hater.
But to be fair, looking back, I think you were more prepared than I was by far.
I don't remember that. I thought I could have sworn you debuted.
No, it was you because I was still running like the camera and the sound and stuff when you were out there. So I just looking back on it, obviously now looking back, I'm like, and watching old tapes of me, I'm like, dude, why was I out there? It's so bad.
I think all of us, I don't think there's a single wrestler that goes out there and sees their like rookie selves later and they go, man, fuck it, I was kicking ass. I was out there fucking.
I was the shit. Man.
Why wouldn't they strap me on the first couple of matches? God damn it.
And honestly, I think if you already think you're that good, I mean, it's like then why aren't you signed somewhere? If somebody goes out there and like, yeah, I'm already the superstar. It's like, okay, then why aren't you with one of the big companies now? Why are you
exactly
still here? But
just like our good friend, Jazz would say you're either a bitch, hoe, or a hooker at that time still.
Yeah.
True.
True, the old jazzometer. You're definitely going to be at the bottom of the rung at that point in time.
I forgot about the jazzometer. That's right. Yeah. You know, I wish Jazz supported this podcast the way you do, bro.
I know.
Fucking hating that.
I try to get him to,
man. You tell him, bro. Tell his ass.
I've tried, but some people just don't want to listen.
I think that's racist.
Yeah, it's very racist, man. Acting like a hooker and shit, bro. I don't want to support the podcast and shit. Man, but no, bro. Like I remember, like you said, we both came in together, we both trained together, man. But what's like your story as far as like getting to the business? Like what made you want to get into it?
I mean, I feel like most people just liked it as a kid, and then if you guys remember Jason Weaver.
Yeah.
Or I mean, the referee was Jason Paul.
Yeah.
He we went to high school together. And
did you really?
Yeah, he was I want to say a year or two younger than me. But we had the same. When in my senior year, we had a class together, and he was asking me because I always wear the wrestling T-shirts and whatever. And he's like, "Yeah, well, you like wrestling?" Like, and this was towards graduation for me. And he's like, "Yeah, there's a show like the POW show in June if you want to go." So I went with him. And I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And it was at the Hattendorf Center at the time when we were still running there. Mm-hmm. So I go there, had a good time, and then I went with my dad to the Elk Grove VFW the next month in July, which was another venue they used to run, which they don't anymore. And then that was when they had said like
Elk Grove VFW. That was where I made my debut. Where you were hating?
Yeah.
When you were hating, yeah.
I was like, this motherfucker.
You remember when you were hating? When that envy was like, just envy.
So yeah, basically it was just they had said if you want to join the show or not join become a wrestler, talk to Jimmy Blaze. And I can't remember exactly because I know it wasn't that night, but I was talking to my dad, and I actually at that point had a half scholarship to go to Loyola University. And I'm like, why don't I just do this after college? And he's like, if you wait, you'll probably never do it because you'll be mounted in student debt, and you're just not going to want to do it. So I was like, okay. I literally gave up a half scholarship to Loyola.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you get a scholarship for?
Just academics.
Okay.
Like that's so I was.
So you gave it up to wrestle?
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes I don't know.
Dumbass.
I'll be honest. There's a part of me that's like, because that was like, that would it's like a $32,000 a year school. So they were covering half of that, and I was like, oh man. So I decided to wrestle.
Jimmy didn't pay you that.
No, unfortunately. But I think we met him in like Woodstock or something like that. Like we found where one of their shows was at, and I ended up talking to him, joined up, and did the camp. I don't know if you ever did the camp.
Yeah, I did the fantasy camp.
Yeah. So I did that, and just that day signed.
You signed the day of the camp?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think at the camp it was me and one other guy who I think he just wanted to try it. He never did anything, and then it was Ruff and Jimmy that were doing the training and everything. So and the rest is pretty much history. So after that, I signed up, and then that was back when we were doing I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday practices.
Thursday, Sunday, I remember, yeah.
Rick was running them, Kanoa was running it, and then Scott was running the Thursdays.
Yeah.
So they started out basically as my trainers, and obviously yours too, and that was it. And then I trained, I think my first debut match was technically a Royal, like May of 2009.
Okay.
Something like that, and like nobody knew who the hell I was. So I was like out there, and they're like, who's this nerd? Like I was like 160 pounds too, if you can believe that. Like people look at me now.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you were 100. I'm like, dude, I was 160 pounds. And then my actual debut match was with Dayhawk.
Okay.
And I remember this, and I just talked to him about this too, because I didn't realize.
When was that?
June of 2009. So it was like the next month.
Okay,
and
so you debuted in June?
In Fox Lake, yeah.
You debuted in June, okay. I debuted in April before you.
Yeah, so.
This is going to be the running joke.
I do everything before you do.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I hit puberty before you did.
That too, I'm sure. I mean, he's got a couple years on him, so he had to.
Wait, how old are you again?
I'll be 35 in a month.
Okay, yeah, I'm 40.
Yeah, so
I hit puberty.
Yeah.
I would hope so. Yeah. But
my balls dropped way before yours. Yep.
Yeah, no. I actually reached out to Dayhawk recently because I didn't realize how big this was. But in my debut, I was only supposed to work. I think we were supposed to get like 3 to 4. Like I was supposed to get squashed, and he gave me 7 to 8. And he's like, "Nah, man, I want people to see what you can do." He's like, "If I give you 3 to 4, he's like, nobody's gonna care." So we did like 7 to 8, and I remember Jimmy kind of talked to him. He was like, "Hey, why'd you take that long?" Like I said, 3 to 4, and he's like, "That was my call. I wanted him to actually show what he can do out there."
Yeah.
And so it didn't hit me until like recently. I was like, I texted him. I was like, hey man, like I appreciate you doing that. Like, you don't really realize when it's happening, like how big something like that is.
So Dayhawk went over on you.
He did, but he gave me the time to show, shine and everything. And
I won a title in my debut.
yeah,
I did. It was a regional title.
yeah, yep. Just
Logan's just gonna get up in the middle of this
I
interview.
vividly
Fuck
remember.
you, dude. I'm out.
I do remember, and like now, I'll say this. Now I'm not. I don't care. But back then, I was that young asshole that was like, this guy gets a title and a win, and is not just the win, but a title. I was lucky I didn't get squat. Like that's what happened to me.
One of the boys went to bat for me to give me extra minutes. This motherfucker got a title.
So
they're trying to treat him like the old school WWE women's matches and shit, bro. 2 minutes, curtain to curtain, let's go.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that was pretty much the whole debut right there, and then worked as a baby face for about 6 months, and then that's when it was like January of 2010 is when they turned me heel. Me and GQ started doing the picture perfect stuff because they're like, man, it's just not working with you guys being babyface. I mean, we combined, we weighed like 300 pounds. Combined back then, we weighed as much as I weigh now. So I'm like, who believes that? And
Dude, how much are you weighing right now?
About 285.
Damn.
I was pushing 300, and that was because I was heavily using juice. And I'll be honest, like I tell everyone, I'm like, when people look at it, I'm like, yeah, this wasn't. I mean, I was in the gym, but I was using what is referred to as SARMs. That's what that was. I don't know if you're familiar, but so I'd taken a bit of that, here and there, and then I mixed a bunch of them together because I was like, oh, if this does this and this does this.
You were mixing them together?
Uh huh.
Holy shit!
I put a bunch of it together, and I figured, and dude, my lifts went up significantly in a month. I went from benching like 315 to 375 in a month.
I bet you can't do that, Danny.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
But
That's the one thing you did better than Danny, bro.
Yeah.
Make sure you shove that shit in his face.
No, man, I can't brag about lifting, especially when I've seen what other people lift. It's insane. But we healed. We were doing a heel tag team thing for a bit. And it was just weird because, you look back at it, you look at us together, I'm like, who believes we could have beaten anybody? Even as heels, cheating, we were I felt like we were so small, and everybody else who were wrestling was so huge. You had the Sin Mates with Ex-Con and Dayhawk, and they're huge. You had Rick and Scott, and they were bigger than us. And I'm like, who are we supposed to believably beat?
I'll give you this much, though. GQ, not until his later, like when he started getting like really good, then his body started kind of fitting.
Yeah.
Because he was always like really thin back in the day. But you got to a point where you started looking like you were in some solid good shape. You were starting to like work out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you started fitting the gimmick a little bit more.
I did, and I think that was more when we split, because there was a point where Picture Perfect was like a faction, and that was weird because it had me, GQ, Justin, Joey Chichi, and I think Turbo was part of it. And then briefly, Matt Mayhem was in it, and he was supposed to be like our protege, like we were teaching, would be part of that. And then it ended up just being me. And then that's when I started really, hitting the gym and everything and getting in shape. And at my heaviest before I left, I was like 215, 220. Mm-hmm. And I was actually like 10% body fat, which is crazy because now I'm like 35% body fat. It's like all fat in here. But I was doing the part, because I'm like, dude, you can't call yourself the Picture Perfect Man and not look good.
Right.
So I was trying to. I actually had abs, which I can't even see anymore. But it was interesting. That whole run was like 2012, and that was when I think if you guys remember, when pretty much like everybody left. Everybody left the company, and I was like, well, there's a spot to be the top guy. And so I told Jimmy, I was like, I would like to be the top heel. Like, what do I got to do? And he's like, just keep doing what you're doing. He's like, you're showing up to practice, you're working out, you're doing all this stuff, you're flying, you're doing all this stuff that, if you remember flying, that shit sucked.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
No.
Yeah.
So he ended up putting me in a program with GQ, and he and I were working for I think at the time they were calling it the regional belt. I think that's when they changed it, or the Midwest. I can't remember because that belt has changed so many times.
Yeah. It was the Midwest, and then they changed it to the regional. Yeah.
So we were working for that. He was the champ at the time, and I was chasing him, and that culminated in like the title versus hair match, which I guess I pitched the idea like early on that I would be willing to shave my head in a match. And then Jimmy was like, hey, remember what you said like 3 years ago?
Jimmy keeps tabs, bro.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. So obviously I knew what was coming from that. And I mean, the match was really good. To me, one of the best parts of the match was, at the time, my manager was Chaz Moretti. Mm-hmm. And because the culmination of this feud is us, we're like, okay, we got to get him out of there, right? So we put up a spot where he gets caught doing something and he's kicked out, banned from ringside. And I guess the boys downstairs were like, when he went down there, he's like, these motherfuckers, they took me out of this match. God damn it, this and that. And yet he didn't even remember that he did show up for it, but it's like he forgot he had a spot at the end where he was going to show up and hit GQ with a chair, which was like, and this was after I got my head shaved.
Is that when Q super kicked him and he no-sold it?
I don't think that was. That might have been it, actually.
I think that was it.
But I just know he comes out and hits him with a chair because as I'm getting my head shaved, he comes out to like save me. And that's when then Cairo comes out to save GQ, which set up my feud with Cairo for the world title. But like his whole thing was all these motherfuckers and this and that. And I was like, did you not remember that you're supposed to come back out and basically have another big moment, you know? And,
right.
But he, obviously you guys know him. He didn't care. It's got to be about him.
Right.
Like I'll say this, I personally have nothing against him. To me as a person, but as a character in working, he was very much about himself. Mm-hmm.
And his ego was always out of control.
Yes. So I mean, I was gonna say, if anybody doesn't like him, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you have to like him. So I mean,
Dude,
I'm not gonna walk.
I'm the reason he got in the business.
Yeah, and
I don't like to clean up very much, but yes.
I remember you said too. You're like, well, initially it was like there's a difference between Joe and Chaz.
Yeah.
And then that just went away.
Yeah.
So,
I think Joe died a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
It's just Chaz now.
So then, that was the year. And this was actually the downturn of me with wrestling was me feuding with Cairo, and the feud with him was fine. It was awesome. I loved it. We initially had a match where I had to beat him in order to get a world title shot, so I went over on that. And then we had a couple world title matches. One went to a time limit where he tapped just as the time. Or after the time expired, and then we had a 30-minute Iron Man match, which, man, I can't do that today. But we were talking about stuff, and within the first 5 minutes, we're like, all right, man, we should be like halfway through, and I hear Riccolo, 5 minutes have gone by, and we're like, oh my god, dude, and we're like, we got to slow this crap down.
Fucking rest hold for 10 minutes. Let's go.
So, but I mean, it was fun, and that was a draw. It was a 1-1 draw, but not like the Michaels and Bret Hart where there was an extra 5 minutes. Or whatever extra time. That was just it, and it culminated in what I thought was supposed to be me winning the world title at Wrestle Rage. And this was I don't remember what number of Wrestle Rage, but it was in 2012, and it was us in a dog collar match. And I sold the most tickets I've ever sold. I think I sold like 25 tickets. I had people willing to see it, and they're like, "Oh man, it's gonna be awesome." And then he goes over, and I was devastated. I was like. I mean, at the time, I'm 22. I'm like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And even the crowd, I felt, was kind of like, what just happened? Like
they wanted a change.
Yeah, and I think they knew it was building to a change, and they knew that it was supposed to come to this. And when it didn't happen, I was like, what happened? Yeah, I didn't know. And I talked to Jimmy, and he's like, well, sometimes when the crowd expects it to happen, it's best not to give them what they want. Mm. And he and I have since talked about this, and I remember telling him, years later, I was like, well, sometimes you should give the crowd what they want. So that basically set me on a downward spiral. Like I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And
is that when you left shortly after that?
I left briefly because I was in the military, and then I came back. I left in 2014 to go to basic training, and then I came back in 2015, and then I kind of left again because it wasn't changing. Like I felt like I'm not getting anywhere.
You were in the military?
Yeah, briefly. So I left, and I was in the National Guard. I did basic training and my job training in 2014. I came back late November, early December of 2014, and I was in there for 3 years. So you sign an 8-year contract, and they give you terms of like this by this. So it's active years, inactive. So you can do. I mean, I knew a guy that did a 7x1, which is 7 years active and 1 year inactive, which is crazy. I've never seen that. But I got lucky to have a 3x5, which, no disrespect to anybody in the military, but when I would be out in Chicago for my duty station, I'd go there the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, which that's a complete lie, by the way. Your one weekend could be a 4-day weekend, and your 2 weeks could end up being like 2 months, and that's what happened to me once. But a lot of it was just hurry up and wait shit. And so when I'd be there, we'd get there, we'd do whatever, and they'd be like, oh yeah, go check the motor pool, which is all the vehicles we use. Like, make sure everything, inspect them, make sure they're all good. And they'd be like, you gotta do this in like 30 minutes or whatever. So we go out there, get it done. Like, okay, we're done. What do we do gotta know? And he's like, oh, just sit here and wait. We'll let you know. 5-6 hours goes by, and we're like, what are we doing? And then they're like, all right, it's time to go home. And we're like, that was it? And so in a lot of ways, I tell people, like, man, sometimes, like I said, I respect the guys that are in it and that are doing it, but I'm like, it wasn't for me. I couldn't stand that. And I'm like, you also don't get, for how long you're technically there, you don't get paid a lot. And then I'm like, you realistically, your taxpayer dollars. I'm like, you're paying me to fucking sit on my ass, do nothing. And I'm like, all I did was I checked a vehicle for like 5 seconds, and then I sat there for 8 hours. And I'm like, your tax dollars are going to pay for that. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, let me do something. Like, we all wanted to do something.
Yeah.
But they
now, did you finish your term? Or?
Yeah, so I did the full 3 years, and I think I almost feel like I got out a month early. And technically now, because I enlisted in October of 2013, by now the 8 years is up.
Okay.
So really what happens is in that inactive term, if they need people, like say like a war breaks out and they need people, they can bring you back, like reactivate you. So with that, and actually the funny part is when I got out, like a couple weeks later, my unit was sent overseas. I think to Afghanistan. So I was like, man, I was almost over there. Like, and the funny part is, like, if I was sent over there, like, they don't go, oh well, it's your inactive time. They're like, no, you stay there. So I got lucky. I dodged that. It was like I did not want to go. I knew a couple guys that really wanted to go, and they were like, oh yeah, let's go. And it just wasn't for me. Like, would I do the basic training part again? Yeah, because that shit was fun. Yeah. Like, you don't think it's fun when you're in there, and the first 3 days I was there, brutal. Like, I couldn't even change uniforms. I was drenched in sweat, and so like we'd have to wake up early in the morning, at like 3 a.m. to go do PT, and my PT uniform was sweaty, so I'm putting on a sweaty clothes. Ugh. Then I'm getting sweaty again, taking that off. You put on your uniform, your green uniform, and that's already sweaty because all my stuff is in my bag, and I didn't have enough time to take it out and organize it, so I had to pull out the same damn uniform and same shirt, same socks.
How bad did that smell?
Oh, dude, it was bad. And
he already got used to doing wrestling. Yeah. How many guys pull out their gear and you're like, dude, oh fuck?
And it wasn't just me. It was like all of us, because you had no time to organize your locker and get your shit out, because those first 3 days they were. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of Shark Week. Holy fuck! Like, or at least we had. Well, that's more Marines, but the shark attack. So when you get off the bus, all the drill sergeants, like, I remember seeing them, and they're literally doing like circling like sharks. It's crazy. And they're just waiting on us to get out of the bus. And I know there was a drill sergeant with us on the bus, and he seemed like the coolest guy. And then the minute that bus stopped, when we were there, he stands up, turns around, and he's like, get the fuck off my bus. You fucking move right now. And everybody's like, whoa, what the shit just happened? Like, this guy was cool. And then he just flipped. And so people are trying to get off the bus. You saw people tripping over each other, falling. And we had the furthest barracks than anybody. Like, we had to go so far. But if you dropped it, they would take your bag and just chuck it down a hill. So you had to go back and get it. And there was a dude that was going back like 5 times. And it was funny because this guy had the biggest attitude, but every time they would do it, he would just sit there and go. And he's like looking at him like, you better get your shit. He's like, then stop fucking throwing it. And he's like, he just giving him attitude. He's like, if you want me to get up there, and they're like, you better move. And he's like, then stop throwing my shit. He's like, I'm trying to go there. You keep throwing my shit. So like,
did he get reprimanded for that?
What's that?
Did he get reprimanded for that?
No, they just kept yelling at him. That's all they were doing. Yeah, I mean, he gave a lot of attitude, but I mean, ultimately he was actually good at everything. So like, they didn't really. I mean, they do care, and at the end of that too, we do a thing where they know everyone does impressions of them, so they let everyone do it without repercussions. They're like, hey, we'll let you do it, and everyone wanted him to do it because he nailed everybody, and we're like, come on, man. And he was like so terrified to do it, so he never got up there, but. Yeah, no, it was fun. Like, I ended up going from, like, when I was there, I was 220 pounds. I went down to like 180. Like, I lost like 40 pounds with all the running and shit you do. Mm-hmm. And, shooting the rifle was fun. I got to toss a grenade, but it wasn't a real one. which is unfortunate. Like, I mean, it was, but you don't get to see it.
Yeah.
Like, so you throw it and they make you duck behind a barricade, so you don't even get to see it explode. I was like, I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like, you know?
Like the fact that shrapnel could have got me.
No, yeah, I just want to see it. And then I got to shoot a rocket launcher, but they modify it. So it was like basically just a bullet shoots out. And
Okay.
But I'm holding it, and everyone's like, oh, can we shoot a real rocket? And one of the drill sergeants is like, Joe, do you understand how expensive rockets are? He's like, those things are like, $2,500, $3,000 a piece. He's like, and there was like 100 of us. He's like, you want us to spend all that money? And we got to shoot grenade launchers, but it was just smoke that came out. And I was like, oh, man, it was cool. But you're like, it's not the same, man. Like, I want to blow shit up. I want
to blow some shit up.
But the best part for me was I got to shoot the 240 Bravo, which is if you guys have ever seen any Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, it's the big ass gun with the chain belt. I got to fire that, and I was supposed to be one of the gunners with that. So when we did field exercises, because I was a bigger guy too, I had to carry that thing, and that thing's heavy, man.
Is that the one from Terminator 2?
Yeah.
How did it feel shooting that fucking thing?
It's fun, but it's heavy. Like, I mean, you're sitting there like, oh, I'm a man, I'm strong, and then that thing's like 20, 25 pounds. And you got to lug that thing around with you everywhere. Yeah. And so it eventually gets heavy, and then the issues with that too are sometimes like the belt gets jammed, and then you got to fix that. But like shooting it just overall is it's so much fun. And one of the guys in my platoon, he carried one too, and I just remember him getting so fucking mad because as we're carrying it, he tripped over. We're in the field, and he trips over a tree root. And he falls with it. He's like, this is bullshit. He like throws it on the ground, starts stomping the shit out of it. But we're in the back, so nobody sees this. And I'm dying laughing. Like, he's getting so angry. He's like, I'm fucking tired of this shit. And I was just like, I don't know what to do because I'm like dying. It's so funny. Like, I didn't want to be like, hey man, it's okay. But I'm just sitting there laughing at him.
So now at that time, are you like, obviously you're thinking about wrestling because you get out and then you go back to try to go back to POW.
Yeah.
Right. So you're thinking about wrestling. You're missing wrestling at this point.
Yeah, actually, because a lot of the guys there knew I was wrestling too, and so they I had photos of it, was showing everybody. I'm like, yeah, because my dad sent me photos, and I was like, yeah, this is what I used to do. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I ended up going back January, and to me, again, I don't want it to sound like I'm complaining about anything, but I thought it was booked terribly because it was my return and also Matt Mayhem's return, and we were booked it together. And I was like, how do you have two people returning and we're working each other? Like, and because I'm like,
you lose the hype on one of them right away.
Because somebody's got to put the other guy over. Yeah. And
what year is this now?
It's 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean that was the worst, and and just that entire year actually, because 2015 was the last year I wrestled for a while. Because I thought I was booked terribly. I'm like, I even mentioned it to Jimmy. I was like, look, dude, I'm like, and this was no disrespect to anybody, by the way, but I was like, look, I came back. I'm like, I look better than most of the roster. I can still wrestle just as good as when I left, if not better. And I'm like, you're booking me to lose like every match. And I was like, I can still be one of the top guys. Like, why don't you book me as that or start to book me up there? And I think he also got mad because I had a shirt that said "Power World Champion or Bust," and I wore it at a show. And he's like,
you buried yourself, brother.
Yeah, he told me like, and I was like, dude, I'm like, sometimes, to me, I was like, sometimes you got to try to do shit to obviously put yourself over or get. There's numerous wrestlers that have tried to do that shit, and sometimes it works, Obviously, one of the famous ones, Christian, doing his own thing with the peeps and everything like that, was all him trying to get himself over. Now, obviously, sometimes the booker doesn't like that, which happened to me. But I was like, dude, like, I was also upset too because I'm like, I'm still getting paid the same. And I'm like, I know for a fact some of these guys are getting paid a lot more than I am. And he wouldn't renegotiate with that. And so September of that year, I was like, look, dude, I'm done. And it was kind of a massive falling out. It sucked, but we talked about it since then. And I took like 7 years off, 7-8 years.
Because I remember you took a long gap.
Yeah,
you took off
and I never thought I'd come back.
Yeah,
but
was there ever a thought of just going somewhere else that wasn't POW, where you thought maybe if I go somewhere, not only would you be appreciated, but just the booking in general is going to be a little bit different. So maybe a second chance somewhere else.
So it was kind of hard because I forget the year it happened, but I know Jimmy had asked me to talk to the locker room and mention everybody that, like, hey, everybody's got to start working out, like getting in shape, because a lot of the guys weren't looking the best. And so I say that, and then everyone took it the wrong way. And Jimmy never told them that he asked me to say that. So I basically was left to drown. And
So you stood up like in a meeting, or you just went up to everyone and
in
stuff?
in a meeting. Like
Okay.
that, Jimmy asked me to do it in a meeting.
Okay.
And the way he prefaced it was like, hey,
Listen, you're here, you fat fucks.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly what I said, and maybe I didn't put it the right way, but I definitely didn't say that.
Danny's flexing in the back.
With the
Not
chan-
talking to me.
with the championship belt. I got the strap, bro. I'll do what you want.
So one of the guys that was there listening to this was Frankie DeFalco, and
Eating a donut, probably.
well, I'm assuming, but he absolutely hated me for that, and he never came up to me and talked to me, and he kind of blacklisted me. So like there were places like I couldn't get booked, and I know I talked to Eric Freedom because Eric Freedom came up to me and actually sat me down and talked to me about that. He's like, hey, what was going on? And I explained to him the situation, and we were cool from there. Like, he's like, oh, okay. So he actually came to me and talked to me like a man and was like, he was like, hey, why'd you know what the hell's going on here? And I was like, well, Jimmy asked me to. And then Jimmy even said to him, like, yeah, I asked him to.
Now, did you ever talk to Jimmy afterwards saying, hey, man, how come you didn't stand up for me here? Because everyone thinks, you know.
We might have. I mean, I can't recall. I know we talked about a lot of stuff because, you know, before I actually left POW for the military, I was briefly the world champ, and then I never got to do anything with it. Mm-hmm. So that after working all those matches with Cairo, I had like 2 or 3 4-man matches, and when I won it, the crowd couldn't give a shit. Like, they could not care less. They actually wanted Stonewall to win it, if you remember him.
Yeah.
Like, when they thought he was going to win it, like, the crowd was popping, and I even told Jimmy, like, you should have given it to him. It was the right moment. The crowd wanted it. But he put it on me, and I think he put it on me because he didn't want me to leave. You know, it's kind of like a, here you go, like, hopefully you don't leave type thing. And then there was a couple shows, like at least 2 or 3 shows I wasn't booked on at all. And the first show I'm booked on, I'm dropping the belt to Eric Freedom. And I'm told, we just don't feel you're getting over as world champion. And I was like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to get over if I'm never on a show?
Yeah.
I'm like, I won it. 2, 3 shows I'm not on, now I'm on. And I do remember, so Jimmy said that, but I remember before he said that, GQ said that to me. And I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, why are you saying this to me? Like,
He said, what did he say to you?
He said the same thing Jimmy did, but he said it before Jimmy. Like, he was like, yeah, you're just not getting over. And so we're taking the strap from me. He's like, they were like, do you know why we're taking the strap from you? And GQ said it. And so he and I have actually had unbeknownst to me, we've had a huge rivalry where I mean, people were seeing it where, I don't know if he was like jealous of me or whatever. Like, cause when we came up around the same time, had a similar look, and every time he would quit, I ended up getting a belt. Mm-hmm. And I kind of felt like I was getting belts just because he quit, like just to stick it to him. He quit Picture Perfect. Me and Turbo are tag team champions. He quits again. Suddenly I'm the Midwest, I think it was Midwest at the time, champion. And when I won the Midwest belt, I was under concussion protocol, couldn't even wrestle. And I told Jimmy, like, how am I supposed to be a champion?
Yeah.
I can't work. So Matt Mayhem was doing the proxy thing. He was wrestling for me. But I just noticed it was like every time GQ quit, suddenly I was champion. And I'm like, I don't think I earned any of that stuff, you know? And same with the world belt. I felt like I got it just because he didn't want me to, like, he was worried I was going to leave. And then they take it from me because I'm not getting over. And like I said, when he said that, when GQ said that to me, and I was like, then I hear it from Jimmy, and I was like, you just said exactly what he said. Like, did he tell you this? So, I mean, and everyone says it that he was for a long time, like, you know, the golden boy. And so I always felt slighted, but I was never like pissed or hated him or anything like that. And I'd always try to reach out to him and talk to him because, what is it? I want to say like 2017, 2018, Mikey Wild was having a show. Yeah. He briefly put on one show. He had GQ there. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, let's bury the hatchet. You know, I'm like, I feel like there's hatred. And I'm like, I never really like hated him, but I was like, I was kind of upset because of the shit that he would do. But I was like, hey, let's bury the hatchet. Tried calling him, texting him, whatever. Never got back to me. And then, you know, 2023, when I came back to POW to train and GQ was coming back, all of a sudden I get a friend request from GQ. And I was like, that's kind of funny. Like, now you want to try to reach out and do all this stuff? I'm like, I reached out to you for years, man. Yeah. So, yeah, it was just, it's been weird between him and I. Now, I was asked when I came back, like, Jimmy was like, hey, if I booked you guys in a match, would that be okay? And I was like, dude, I'm a professional. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm not going to take a cheap shot at him. I know some people that would, but I'm like, I wouldn't, you know? And, I mean, that never happened. And then I think GQ left the business. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on there. I think he left POW again. And I kind of find it funny. I was like, I wonder if it's because he thought Jimmy was going to book him against me, and then he quit. Mm-hmm. And
When was theirs that he lift again? I'm trying to like follow it in my head.
I think it was 2020, like this. I think it was 2023 or sometime in 2020.
Is that no? That was his injury.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
then he. Well,
was
no.
his injury.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, because I know there was rumors that we were supposed to go at it. I thought he got hurt in 2024, but I could be wrong. Because I know he hurt his hip, like right. something like
That was 2024, I think. That was-
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So like it was just really weird. And he and I, like we were never actually at like the shows together, but there was one show we were there together, and he kept talking about getting Picture Perfect back together, and I'm like, I just wouldn't talk to him. I'm like, dude, I'm like, out of respect, I'm not gonna start anything. I'm like, you know, I've tried reaching out to you. Now you want to be Mr. Nice Guy. I'm like, that ship kind of sailed, you know. So I kind of just ignored him. But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, no, because I know obviously there's an episode that Scott was on here, and I know Scott really doesn't like him either. So yeah, it was just, like I said, it's just been really weird. And if you guys are cool with him, like I said, I have no issues now with
We're
him.
cool with everyone, man. Until they're like.
I'm just trying to let you know, like, I just don't want you to feel awkward if somebody's like down talking to somebody. So
No, we're cool with everyone, man. We love everyone.
but
Except Jazz. Fuck him.
But yeah, in the off time, actually, God damn it. Sorry, I caught that a little bit late. Sorry.
Love you, Jazz.
Punk ass.
But yeah, no. So before I came back, I actually started doing powerlifting competitions and stuff. And a buddy of
I
mine,
was going to ask you, when did that start for you, the powerlifting?
I want to say around 2021.
Because there was a long period of time I didn't see you.
Yeah.
And then the next time I did see you,
You know what?
I was like, what the fuck?
You know when I would see him? He would be posting up pictures with celebrities and shit, like on
yeah.
social media. Like he's at some convention meeting, some like random ass like girl or random ass dude, like from Kid Bopper TV shows or something. I'm like, what the fuck is fucking Logan out there doing and shit?
You have to, man.
Like I just met Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Over here.
No, yeah. So a buddy of mine, that I met at the gym, he's like 10 years younger than me, but he was saying that he wanted to like do powerlifting. He's a pretty strong kid, a lot smaller than me, but he's a pretty strong kid. And so eventually I told him, like, hey man, like, look, I found a beginner one where they like kind of go over the ropes with you about how to do it. And I was like, if you do it, I'll do it. So he agreed, and we did. And man, I way undershot everything. Like I should have lifted a lot more, but it was fun. And then I started doing it again. And then, you know, I did it a few more times. My dad started doing it with me because I told my dad, I'm like, hey man, you can come in here and do this. I'm like,
Is your dad a big dude?
I'll say this, he's still big, but he's not as big as he used to be. Like he used to be fucking huge. But he, you know, working all the time and stuff, so he kind of slimmed down a bit, but he's still pretty strong he's 52, 53, something like that. Yeah, so he's still pretty strong, but he was competing with me, and then my brother started competing a little bit, but he would only do the bench. So it was fun. It was weird because, like, you know, you go to these competitions, they're like looking at the names and like, oh, it's Woodcock. Like, this is the most Woodcocks I've ever seen.
Come on, don't lie. It's not the most cocky person.
But
Woodcock.
so overall, I was setting some goals in each competition. Like I've done better and better. The only thing that really, like, for me, I'm trying to hit the 400 on bench at a competition. I've never been able to hit above 370, but like at the gym, all my maxes, I've hit 410 on the bench, 470 on the squat, and about 460 on the deadlift. And I'm trying to hit those two. I'm trying to hit 500, and I know I can do it. But I got set back a bit because I had hernia surgery last year, which that sucked. And I was actually wrestling with a hernia, really unbeknownst to me, when I came back.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the whole time I was wrestling with that, but it was a minor one. It wasn't huge.
Was the hernia caused because of the weightlifting?
I'm more than certain it was. Yeah, and because I'm not in the best of shape. Like I didn't take care of my core too much. Like I was focusing so much on the heavy lifts as opposed to doing like core work and stuff, and I should have been, because you need it for every one of those lifts.
Yeah.
Really. And to me too, it's surprising how much you actually need your core to bench. Because I would always see guys wearing the belt when they're benching. I'm like, and I'd always laugh. I'm like, what the fuck are you using that for? And then after I hurt myself and I started using it, I was like, I get it. I was like,
Yeah.
So, the best thing I've done recently was I repped, I came close. I almost hit 2 reps on 405 on the bench. And I was trying. And you know, everybody's asking, like, so, like, most of the people I know at the gym are, like, in their 40s or 50s and stuff. And I'm like, I always make comments like, oh, yeah, man, we're old. And they're like, dude, what are you talking about? You're not old. And I was like, well, I wrestle, I lift like this. I'm like, my body is probably as old as you actually are. you know, and some people have asked, like, why do you do all that? Like, it's bad for your joints and stuff. And I'm like, I just want to see how much I can do before I can't do it.
Now, I was going to ask, are you trying to reach a certain goal before you cut it back?
Right now, my goal for this year, if I can hit 500 on the deadlift and squat and 450 on the bench, which is massively huge, I might be like done.
Okay.
I just want to see those numbers.
So then let's just say you hit those numbers this year.
Yeah.
If you hit them, now are you going to go back to slimming up, or are you going to stay with the powerlifting size?
I think I'll stay, for right now, I'll stay big.
Because he likes donuts.
Yeah, dude. No, and no joke. I tried a diet. Tried to diet before, like do that chicken and rice crap that they do, and I did that like 4 or 5 meals a day, and it just, oh man, dude, it was terrible.
I'm curious. What is like your diet like for being a power lifter, and you know?
Surprisingly, I don't eat as much as I should to maintain the weight, which I don't understand how I'm as big as I am. Like, I've looked up before. I think I would need like 4,000 calories or so, maybe a little bit more, to maintain being 285. I mean, now I just started a new job, so it's really weird. But I get up, I'll eat a single bowl of cereal, and then I'll go to work. I'll have 2 sandwiches, like with deli meat, and then I'll go home and eat like 2 pieces of chicken with like a little bit of mashed potatoes and some veggies. And I'm like, relatively speaking, that's not a lot to maintain this weight. Now, if I work out, I have a protein shake, which is 2 scoops of protein and stuff like that in there. But yeah, I don't even understand how I'm as big as I am with as little as I feel I eat.
Now, how difficult was that getting back into wrestling with this, the size that you are now? Because I remember when I was talking to you before, when I saw you, you said that the difficult part is because you were still you were trying to wrestle like if you were still 180 pounds, and
he told me the exact same
thing. It would blow you up right away.
I was getting so blown up, and everyone was like, "Dude, slow down." I'm like, and so when I came back, Scott Spade took me under his wing, and he kind of was like, yeah, because I feel like you're really looking to learn and really looking to get better. So he was kind of, coaching me, teaching me, having me watch film and stuff. And him and Jimmy were like, you got to slow down. And I was like, every time I'd be in there, I'm like, I feel like I am slowing down. I feel like I'm moving as slow as possible. But, they'd be like, okay, go 5. And after 2, I'm like, I'm like, I'm done. And
I think that people make a lot of mistakes about like slowing down.
Yeah.
Everybody goes slow down, and people like tend to go and do their moves slower, things like that. It has nothing to do with doing your moves slower, man.
So
it's all about pacing.
It's that, and it's the other guy too sometimes, because so Jimmy had me work meat hooks and Hunter Payne, other bigger guys to kind of learn, and they helped teach me a lot about working slower. So I credit them to as well as Scott to helping me figure shit out. And I will say one thing I'm surprised about is how much you don't forget being in the ring. Mm-hmm. Like, I was nervous the first time, and I'm like, but then bumping and doing stuff, everybody's like, man, it's as if you never left. And eventually I figured it out. And now, like I said, so I've had matches with some guys where it's like, I'll tell them like, hey man, you really got to sell. I'm like, if I hit you with something, sell. And then they'll get right back up. And I was like, I'm like, the problem is I'm almost 300 pounds and you're getting up. And I'm like, now I got to waste more energy to put you back down, because as the heel, I have to keep you down. And everyone, and it's also up to me. And I know some people like the shit that's on TV today. It's hit or miss with me, because I do watch a lot of old school with Scott, and I do like the stuff, and I think it can still be implemented today. And I think you can even work it in with today's style. But a lot of people, they see the style today, and everybody's like sitting there taking 20 Germans and then getting right back up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, because I gotta be there for the next spot. And it's like, but the guy can wait for you if you're going to sell what he just did. And and so there were guys that were doing that. They just kept getting back up. And I was like, and I've been told it before. Somebody's like, hey, why don't you just, clock him? And I was like, man, I can't do that. I'm not that guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you guys know me. Like, I've been told I'm too nice. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm like, even if somebody like took liberties and hit me, I'm not even fully sure if I'd hit back. Mm-hmm. Like, I might just be like, whoa, what the fuck? And then work the match. But yeah, so I mean, it's been a learning process, but definitely working with Scott has helped. Doing tag matches has helped, and that was something too. Like, I was nervous doing tag matches too, and then especially working with Scott, I was nervous too. Like, I'm like, man, I don't think I'm nowhere near his level, and I'm like,
it can be intimidating working with someone like him.
Yeah,
because there's matches that when he goes out there and you watch him work, it feels like he's not even trying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just
Yeah.
out there and it just comes normal to him. There's guys like that are just like slick. They're fucking smooth like butter and shit. And,
No, and-
for you, it's like, it's tough. Like, I know, because there's
Yeah.
matches that I've been in where I'm worried about the next spot because the person that I'm in the ring with, I may have so much respect for them because I know how good they are.
Yeah.
And I'm like worried that I want to be up to their par, up
Yeah.
to their level. Whereas if I wrestle someone that I feel it's either my equal or maybe they're just learning, I don't have that thought process, and I'll just go through the motions a lot more naturally.
Yeah, and it's definitely fun watching him out there because being part of the group, the Torture Killers with him, I've been out there a couple times during his singles
Side note, I'm
matches.
curious, who the fuck came up with that name?
That would be
Scott,
I
right?
think that would be Scott. Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, that is such a death metal fucking name. And I was like, that's Scott written all over that thing.
And funny thing too is I wanted a logo for us to sell shirts, and so I had my tattoo artist. I wish I had the picture I drew her because it was so bad, and I was like, this is what I want, and I can't draw for shit. So I gave her this. I'm like, this is what I want, and I kind of told her the idea, and she came up with the design, and I was nervous because I'm like, man, I hope Scott likes it, because I was like, I just tattooed, and he had no idea what it was going to look like. So I tattooed it on me, and I'm like, I really hope he likes it.
So you tattooed it before he even saw it?
Yeah.
So what would you have done if you? So I'm assuming he liked it.
He did. Yeah.
What would you?
He just told her he liked it, bro.
So what would you have done? What would you have said if you took it to him and he said, "Oh, this is the shits"?
Fuck you, Scott.
I don't know, man. There's a part of that wants to
Fucking
say
change the logo. I hate it.
there's a part of that wants to say like, well, tough shit, you were using it, but I mean, if you, so we have a group chat for me, him, and Angela, and if you look in there, man, I'm rarely like talking shit to any of them. Like, I mean, they give me shit all the time, and it's cool. Like, I'm every group has to have that guy where you give them the shit, so I have no problem with that. But I'd be like, well, dude, like, I think I'd kind of like freak out a bit. I mean, I naturally panic, even as I usually drive up to the shows with Jazz, and we talk all the time. And he's like, "Dude,
Black
you ever
Hammer?
Yeah,
Call him
he's
the
like,
Black Hammer, bro.
the Black Hammer.
Call him the
Okay.
Black Hammer.
Hammer.
Yep, the Black Hammer. Call him that.
He'll tell me all the time. He's like, "Dude, you overthink everything." I'm like, "I know, man," because I'm like, I was freaking out. I'm like, "Gee, I hope he likes it."
Did you have the same mentality when in your first run, when you were kind of working a lot more frequently back then, during the Picture Perfect and during your singles and all
do you
that
mean?
stuff? Were you in your head as much as you are now, or has this always been a case?
I think I've always been this way. I think now, I'll be honest, I think now I'm more calm in the ring than I was back then.
Because me and you've had conversations where you've told me like, oh yeah, this is and that. And when Danny brought it up earlier, and I said, yeah, I mean, we've had the same conversations. Because I remember telling you, it was like, you need to work like a big guy for a while. Because when you first came back, and it always seemed like you were preoccupied with what was happening in the ring.
I definitely was when I first came back, and I mean, so when I was first around, there was a point where it clicked, and I think there was a point when I was doing the like solo Picture Perfect Man that it started to click. And then when I came back being the big man, I think now for me there's a point where it's clicked, and I'm out there and it's easier going, and I think a lot of people realize that. Like I've heard some people who've watched my matches. Like I've had Mikey Wild, he's living in Thailand now. He's watched my match, and he's actually wrestling out there too. By the way.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And
There's other things that happen in Thailand,
I'm sure.
and
Yeah,
pretty sure he's indulging.
I haven't asked him that yet. No, but he'll watch my matches.
Call it Bangkok,
and
like
people,
Woodcock.
people will say like, they're like, yeah, you look like you're having more fun out there. And my dad said it too before I left POW for the second time, and he's like, well, technically third, I guess. But he's like, yeah, you look like you're having so much fun. And I'm like, yeah, because I am when I'm out there, but sometimes you might not like the backroom politics or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, when I'm out there, no matter who I'm in the ring with, like I'm having a good time. I might go in the back and like be like, man, I fucking sucked that up. But I'm having fun with the person I'm out there with. If I was working you or whoever, like we might go in the back and be like, man, we messed that up. But ultimately, I'm like, I'm still having a good time out there.
Yeah.
So it just took some time, and I feel like when I'm out there, I'm less in my head than when I'm in the back. In the back, it's all like I'm overthinking everything.
Yeah.
And I try to be more like Scott, because Scott, man, like you just watch him, he's like never worried about anything. Like he's just sitting there.
Yeah,
and,
he's very calm and reserved,
Yeah.
and he's like that the whole time.
yeah.
It's weird to compare him with somebody, but I always think, and Scott will probably be like, okay, that's cool. But I always think of Scott as like Dean Malenko of POW.
I think he would appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been reading Eddie Guerrero's autobiography, and he mentions Dean Malenko a lot. And so, like, just how good he was in the ring. Like he might not have been, like, the most charismatic guy, but he knew how to put together a match, and he could, the stuff he knew. And, like, he might be more of a technical guy, but if you got him in there with a high flyer, like, he can keep up. He can do whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's definitely Scott. Like, and actually, you know, with how calm he is, it was funny. One of our, we worked a match in Ashcombe, Illinois, against these two young kids for SCW, and one of them is like brand new, and the other one's only been in for like a couple of years, and they were panicking because they're like, oh man, we're working Logan and Scott, and they come over to us and they're like, hey, so who's gonna start? And I was like, doesn't really matter, you know. And then like, well, who's taking the heat? And I'm like, well, given where we're at, because it was so this kid Dallas, it was like his hometown, so like, well, Dallas has got to get the hot tag, so we're like, we'll have the heat on you. And then again, he's like, well, who's going to be in there with me to open? I'm like, doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. You know, I'm like, unless we have something planned, it's not going to matter. And they're like, so what are we going to do for this? And we're like, we'll just talk to you out there. You know, and it was funny. Scott has told me a couple times, because I've run down critiques of matches that we've had, and I'll always tell him like, oh man, I'm sorry. I'm like, if you wanted to say something, I'm sorry. Like and he's like, no. He's like, I'm just watching you, and he's like, I like that everything I'm telling you, you're listening to, you're learning, you're doing this, and like there's so many people that I know Scott's tried to help, and I wanted to make it a point on this podcast to say that there's a lot of people that you guys have done interviews with that have not mentioned him, that have helped, that he has helped, and I'm not sure why, you know, and so I'm not going to name names because I don't want call anybody out.
Oh, I want that shit off the air.
But but yeah, I mean,
it was Jazz, wasn't it? Fucking Jazz.
I mean,
Jazz.
usually it is him.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot of people
Fucking
that he's tried to help a lot of people, and there's like, so
See, I love Scott, man.
No,
I
yeah.
fucking love Scott.
Yeah.
You know, and especially my debut match where I won the title. You know,
Yeah.
you know, you were hating in the
You were
background.
there.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
You were the guy crying in the back, remember?
I haven't forgotten.
But no, for Scott to do that to me,
Yeah.
for me, like I owe him a lot, because he could have easily politicked that and said, nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
But for him to do that, and I always learned a lot from him in practice, and talking to him backstage, in the back, and I fucking hold Scott to a very high regard. Scott knows, man. I love that dude.
No, you are one of the guys that I've mentioned him. I'm like, because I know you've mentioned it before, and I've heard you. Like I said, I've listened to this podcast enough. I've heard you mention
Side
Scott.
note, that's his chain right over there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot he left something here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's mentioned that. So I mean, you're not one of the guys I would have said that about. Trust me. Especially when I mean, I don't know how you could say anything negative about him when he gave you that belt that
Yeah.
I never forgot about.
Yeah, I know.
So
Still haven't forgot about it yet, huh?
no. But yeah, no. So and honestly, it's been a blast working with him. And I know we've tried to go out elsewhere to get booked as a tag team, and I've had people come to me and they're like, yeah. So I've had people come to me and they're like, hey, we want to book you, and I'm like, well, I don't want to go anywhere without Scott. So I would mention like, hey, we're part of a team, and then it's like, I feel like I've been told people don't want to book tag teams because they think it's going to cost them like way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I usually work for next to nothing, and then I don't know what Scott gets paid. I don't need to know that. I'm like, you can talk to him, talk to me, and then figure it out. I'm like, you're going to be paying two individuals. I'm like, but that's what they're doing anyway. They're bringing in two separate guys. Like if you guys go somewhere, it's probably two separate prices. Like they're not paying you guys as a whole.
Right.
Whatever you negotiate, that's what you get. But it just seems like they just don't want to book actual tag teams anymore. They just want to put two random people together and go from there. And
I don't even like to work anymore.
no,
Benny likes to get paid to stay home.
it's well, I know because I've actually asked you both. I was like, hey man, like we should work again sometime, or at least one more time.
Yeah.
I've actually never worked you. I don't think we have.
You had texted before and said you were going to come back to POW because you said you wanted us to work.
That's still in the works. I was talking to Jimmy, and we haven't talked in a while though, but he mentioned he's got some stuff going on, and he said maybe March something will open up, so I got to wait until around then. So we'll see what happens then. But when I left the second time, it wasn't. I mean, I was getting that. I was like, man, I just got to leave before I like want to like quit. So, and I even told him like, hey, it's not against anybody, not against any of this. I'm like, I just didn't see the booking going the way that I thought it should. And, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to sit there, and I've had some people say Scott talked me into leaving. That's not true. I'm going to go on the record saying that's not true. Scott and Angela never told me to leave POW. They actually were like trying to convince me to stay. They're like, hey man, like, I don't think you really want to leave, so just stay. And, so like I said, I just want to get that out there because I've heard a lot of people try to think that. And, you know, a lot of people thinking that, and I thought it was kind of funny because, so the last show I did for POW, I even told Jimmy, I'm like, look, this isn't about titles or belts or anything like that. And the very next show at SCW, I booked in a tag title match. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I had no idea that was coming.
Text him, my boy Hunter's taking care of me.
Yeah, so, but.
Who'd you work with for the strips?
So in that show, it was Dysfunction. Brandon Espinoza and I know Kyle, but I forget what he goes by. But their tag team name was Dysfunction. And they've been in like, I think they've been on like OVW and stuff like that. So we worked them, but that match went to, I think they got thrown out or went to a DQ or something like that. Cause that was actually before I had my surgery. So I had to get taken out so I could have my surgery. But, yeah, no, I mean, I've been having fun at SCW, and I talked to Jimmy. I'm like, hey, this wasn't permanent. I never wanted to quit permanent. And, I did kind of tell him, cause the last show I worked for him, the Reckoning won the tag belts. And he's like, he asked me, he's like, you sure you want to leave? And I was like, well, are you trying to give me the belts to stay? I'm like, that's not why I want to.
Oh, that's right, because you were part of the Reckoning.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Okay, yeah.
I'm the long forgotten member. So like, yeah, I was like, dude, I'm like, this wasn't about titles. I just felt like I had nothing. Like I never had a storyline, never had an angle, never had anything. And especially being a big guy, I was like, you keep booking me again to lose. And I'll say this, it's not about winning and losing, but I'm like, I'm never looking strong. If I even said, I'm like, why not book me against somebody that I can squash or something like that? And not a lot of guys don't want to do squashes anymore because they think it's shitty, but not realizing eventually you're going to get yours. You're going to get the come up, you know, something like that. Sometimes you got to do the job for somebody because then then somebody else will do it for you. You know, Scott did it for you, helped you out, and then eventually you did that in return for others. So I think that's a problem with today's wrestling is nobody wants to do that stuff. So, but and then all the smaller guys he had in angles, and I was like, but I can't get anything. So, I mean,
he should have put you and Jazz in a feud, like in a baby oil match.
I didn't pitch that exactly, but I did kind of pitch
Jazz
that.
likes baby oil, I heard.
Yeah.
Hot chocolate, baby oil.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, well, technically cocoa butter.
Yes, there you go.
See?
Wow.
I told you, I'm always going to do it. I'm always going to do it if it's there.
That's racist.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man.
but I mean, overall, it's been
I
fun.
wish Jazz was here to hear that.
Overall, it's been fun.
He's at home putting an activator into his Jerry curl.
And realistically, I don't know. I've put a time frame on it, and I figured by the time I'm 40, I'll probably stop.
Yeah, because you said, I remember when we spoke, you told me, he's like, I'm coming in just to basically quit eventually. He's like, you're coming in to have like your last little bit of it.
A bit of a hurrah.
Yeah, and you're done.
So what's the last things you're trying to accomplish before you end it?
Ultimately, and I mean, I know this goes against probably everything I was saying, but I've told people, like, would it be cool if I was world champion? Like, to me, legitimately at one point? Yes. Like, I would ultimately like to wherever I'm at, if I could win a world belt and it was because they felt I earned it and I could carry it, that would be cool. But I'd also want, the only reason I've ever said I want that too, yeah, it would be nice because I would like the kind of the respect that would come with that. But also I'm like, okay, I want to be able to build the next guy. I want to, if you make me the champ, let me know who it is you want to build because I want to do that for the next guy. And that's ultimately what winning a title is about. Is not just the respect and because I think you can carry the company, but as the person who gets it is you're building up the next guy. So yeah, ultimately that would be that. And then, I mean, there's matches I've wanted to work. There's people I wanted to work. And there.
Also remember, with titles comes a lot of hate.
No, I know.
I mean,
you
hate it when I got it. So.
No, I'm well aware. But I mean, honestly, I feel Scott and I get that even without having belts.
What's that?
The hate.
Why is that? Why do you feel like you guys do?
I think it's because of Scott. And I'm not saying this because people would hate him or anything like that. I think Scott's worked for such a long time and he's been in a lot of different locker rooms that his style is so old school that a lot of the new guys aren't very keen on working with someone like him because he intimidates the shit out of these guys. And you are guilty by association.
I see that, but I also think it's because of, especially how we're booked now, I think some people are upset that we have the top spots and we're not. I mean, we're with SCW, but we're not like, we don't train and the stuff like these guys do. Like they put in the time in the training.
Yeah.
We show up once a month and we're booked in tag title matches, or I recently won their equivalent of Money in the Bank. And, you know, I know there was a guy that was really upset about that. And
that you won it?
Yeah. And he kind of told me that because he was part of the original match. And so Matt Dewar won the ladder match for it. And then he quit SCW. So somebody had to take over and they had a 4-man that I was part of. And one of the guys in the match wasn't part of the 4-man, and he kind of got upset. And he straight up told me, "You're welcome for my spot." And then he tried to play it off like a joke, but I knew he was serious. Mm-hmm. So I feel like because we're literally there just once a month showing up, I think sometimes there are some people that might be like, why do these guys?
Well, they run once a month. So, I mean.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's other guys that are training.
They're
you know
training.
what I mean?
They're
They're training, 2 to 3 times a week, whereas we literally just show up.
Yeah.
You know?
I see. Okay.
And I mean, to me, the thing is too, I'm like, well, we also are always here, whereas some of you guys might bail on a show. And so I know a lot of bookers are like, well, I got to run with who shows up. If you don't show up consistently, then I'm going to start
book you. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a catch-22. I feel like we get to hate just because we show up, but some of these guys, it's like, well, they're not consistently there. So what is a booker supposed to do? Mm-hmm. You know, same thing if I ever, with Jimmy and Pow, if there's a guy he wants to put over, but that guy's never showing up, he's got to go with the guy that is consistently showing up.
Yeah.
You know?
I will agree on that. There was a point in time when I was working a full-time job and it would affect on the weekends.
Yeah.
And I canceled on Jimmy a few times and then my spot was gone.
Yeah.
This is like long time ago, like probably like probably like 2014, 2015 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it was right before I came back and started working with you. Mm-hmm. Like I literally had no spot because my job needed me there on Fridays and Saturdays, and obviously he wasn't running any other days, right?
Yeah.
And I was booked, and then I'd call him like, "Hey, I'm running late. Hey, I can't. Hey, this." And eventually got to the point where he's like, "Well, he's not reliable right now."
Yeah.
And I remember I went a long time without working, and then one day I called him and I was like, "Hey, look, it's like I just changed jobs, or like my schedule is a little flexible now. Like I'd like to come back," and that's when they ended up putting me with him. And ever since then it's been working fine. We've never really had days where I couldn't work or anything like that, and if we did, it was something that we could work around. But I remember, to your credit, it's 100% correct. If you're not there, you will lose your spot.
Yeah. No, and honestly, like you said, though, you guys worked phenomenally, which I've seen your matches and everything, and I always enjoyed it. So, whatever you guys were doing out there was good. And obviously, you guys weren't trying to do too much or do,
Dude, my body hurts. I ain't trying to do shit.
No, I know you would say that a lot.
Yeah.
I always find it funny too. Some guys say that, and then I see what they do out in the ring, and I'm like, you just said you weren't doing a lot, and then I see you out there, or you'll see somebody come in the back. Yeah, we barely did anything, and then I've watched their tape back, and I'm like, dude, you were doing high flies, like all this stuff. Like, I mean, you didn't do anything.
Dude,
like
this guy always sends me like fucking videos of like wrestling moves. Oh, dude, you should hit this. You should do that. I'm like, nah, I ain't doing all that shit, bro. Fuck that.
Dude, so we were at this. Danny had called me one day and he goes, "Hey man, so I'm filming this movie, and it's like the director found out that I was a wrestler, and he wants to add a fight scene for me, and he wants me to bring one of the wrestlers with me so that I can have this fight scene. He's like, can you go and be that guy that I fight in the movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, blah blah blah." So we go over there, we're working this stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, he's gonna give us like whole fights, and we gotta put the fight together."
Yeah.
So me and him put this crazy fight together. And then he tells me that the director specifically wants Danny to fucking do a hurricanrana. I know everyone in this goddamn room right now knows that they've never seen Danny throw a goddamn hurricanrana.
Because the first thing he tells me when I tell him is like, wait. He's like, "Can you even do a fucking hurricanrana?" I was like, "Fuck you, bitch. Yeah, I can't do it. Just because I don't fucking do it in the ring doesn't mean I can't fucking do it."
And I'm like, you can't do no goddamn hurricanrana. He's like, no, I can't. He was wearing the tightest jeans known to man. He couldn't fucking jump up there. He's like, And I'm like, dude, this isn't gonna work out. You can't do a goddamn hurricane. Yeah, I can.
Did I do it though?
How many fucking tires do we have to set up so you can jump off a tire to get on me?
think it was like 4 of them.
But it was the funniest thing. I'm all like, how come you're doing this shit right now, but you won't do this in the fucking ring?
Like, nah, I'm good, bro.
That's good. That's great.
Hell no. Because I got a fucking, I had a fucking crash pad to land on. I go, I'm not fucking land. That's why.
So yeah, Danny definitely don't try anything out there.
Nah, bro.
No, that's cool though. And I've seen some of your short films too, man. It's
appreciate it, man. Thank you, man.
I think I texted you a couple times. You're like,
yeah, you
did
did.
this. And I still got to see that one where you were in with, you said, was it Joey Lawrence?
Yeah.
I still got to see that one.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I keep putting it on my list. I'm like, I know he's in it. I got to watch it. But I haven't seen that one yet, but that's still pretty cool because I saw you in the photos of Joey Lawrence.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
So I brag to people all the time, like, yeah, I know a guy that does his own movies and stuff.
Dude, see, man, he don't even fucking hype me all the time.
What are you talking about?
Dog.
Yes, I
Fuck
do.
This guy.
We were at fucking at T Wood, remember, with my friend and her boyfriend.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and then I'm all like, I'm talking. He's like, oh yeah, he's like this and that. And he's like, oh yeah, I would love all the stuff for the podcast. And as we were shooting the shit, all of a sudden, it's like the guy's like, yeah, man, I love a lot of the actors that you guys brought on, you know, from the show Power. And I'm like, you like Power? He goes, yeah. You see that guy right over there? So yeah. You recognize him? He goes, no. I mean, he's my co-host, but do you recognize him? Does he look familiar? He goes like, no. But that motherfucker was on Power.
That's right. No, he did put me over.
I'm like, come on, man, get your. He's all, and then comes by, all like, shit, I got recognized.
Yep. You know what? Jazz doesn't recognize me, man. Fuck Jazz, dude.
Yeah.
He never. He's a hating ass motherfucker, bro.
With all the posts that you have on social media, I see it. You know what I made a comment earlier about you posting up a lot of stuff with celebrities and things like that. Is that something that you would be interested in, like heading into the acting world?
I mean, I know people always tell people like, oh, you should be in comedy movies or this or that. And so I'm one of those guys that's been told that. I don't believe that. The one thing I did want to do was, what's his name? Damien Leone, who did the Terrifier movies. He kind of did those like on his own and like Kickstarter budgets and stuff. And I had a chance to talk to him at a recent convention because nobody was at his table. Everybody was at David Howard Thornton, who plays Terrifier.
So he was the Virgil of the fucking convention. Huh?
Pretty much. Like, but everybody was at the actors table. Nobody wanted to talk to Damien Leone. Yeah. And me and my brother are there. My brother likes doing movies, like makes his own videos and shit. And I was going to talk to him and be like, hey, man, if you ever need like stunt people, like I'd gladly be in one of your movies for free. Like I would do, like, I'm like, you can have art slaughter the hell out of me, man. I'd do it for free. Like I wouldn't care. Like I'd be like, dude, that's me right there getting slaughtered. But I mean, it'd be interesting to do something like that. But I always feel like, because in your experience with like memorizing lines and stuff, like I always get nervous with that. I'm like, I don't know if I could do something like that. Like ultimately, would it be cool? Sure, but I guess more maybe if I was like doing stunts or something, or doing like you were talking about like fight scenes or something like that. Because I know Mikey did a brief little mini movie where he helped.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember
he
that.
He choreographed a fight scene.
Yeah,
and he's in it too. And I'm like, that was pretty cool. So stuff like that would be nice. But yeah, man, being like front and center, I don't know if I could do that. Like I mean, you make it look easy, but then I'm like, I know the difficulty that goes into it. I know you took a lot of classes and took a lot of time to do that. So I don't know, man. Like, so I guess yes and no. I'll say yes, but only maybe in a certain degree.
So after you're done with wrestling, what do you see yourself doing after?
Considering you hit those numbers and weights that you want to.
Yeah.
So now you don't got weights or wrestling. What's next for Logan?
Honestly,
for like, Logan Woodcock.
Woodcock, not the steel dick.
I mean, ultimately the goal for me right now is I'd love to have a family. So like that's really what I want to do is like just stop, settle down, have a family.
Genetic jackhammer.
Hey,
what do you want to do? I want to bang.
Yeah.
I want to procreate.
That's pretty much what it is, man. I'm watching all my friends get married, have kids, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, I'm with it, with my dick in my hand. I'm like, what's going on
here? Right as I was about to ask, is there a lady in your life? But I guess it's the hand.
Not right now, man.
So let's say, is there a soon to be Mrs. Woodcock? But I guess
so.
Not.
I will say,
they get scared off once they realize that's going to be their future last name.
I will say, I did recently switch gyms to Vasa Fitness, and I was at Crunch Fitness, and there's a lot of like I go there early in the morning, and there was a lot of the more older crowd, and sometimes like the younger people that would come in were all in high school, and man, it was scary because there was one chick who was honestly into me. And everyone's like, dude, go for it. Like, she's a babe. And I was like, you do realize she's in high school, right? And I was like, I'm not getting it. And she told me that before. And I think she was a senior. And people were like, oh, but she's a senior. I'm like, but
she's about to finish, dog. She's about to finish high school. What are you talking about?
That makes things better.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't know if that's. And I'm like, one, I'm
Stay
like,
away, stay away from those friends.
No, I did.
Stay away from those friends.
I was like, I don't know if that's 17 or 18. And then I even said, but regardless of that, she's still in high school. And then she ended up going to college down in Florida.
She's a super senior, bro.
Yeah, like
Super senior.
so. And there was even one time like she was squatting, and she was asking me, she's like, "Hey, can you watch my form? Because I feel like I'm doing it wrong." And so like I'm just like looking at like the top of her head, and I'm not looking anywhere else. And I'm trying because there's cameras in the gym. I'm trying to be like, all right, FBI, you're not catching me. Like,
This is entrapment right here.
That's it. He's about to be he's about to go viral on social media.
Risk it all, baby.
Yeah.
But no, like now that I went to Vasa, like it's to me it's shocking that even though I go there at 4:35 in the morning, there's a lot of young and I'm talking like in their 20s like women. And I'm like, this. It's crazy because
It's better than 17.
It is, man.
We
Trust
approve
me.
of this one.
Yeah.
But
Because you were going into some weird shit that we can't air.
No, I was like, what the fuck?
no.
Like, all right, cut this shit. Cut.
But yeah, and I've started talking to some people there. Like I'm trying to build up the same friendships I had at Crunch Fitness, and it was weird because I had like a family there, but now I'm going to a different gym. And so I'm trying to build up the same type of stuff because I like making an environment that people want to go to. So I'll always help people out. Same with wrestling. I'll always help people out, spot people, do whatever. It's weird because if you ever watch the Joey Swole videos, I'm like, I try to avoid helping the women because I'm like, I don't want to end up on a video.
On Joey Swole video?
Yeah, because I'm like, I'll genuinely try to help somebody, but
What are the Joey Swolvers? I feel like I know this, but
so
I don't.
it's people that go to say they'll make a gym video. And like somebody will walk through their video and they're like, "Excuse me, don't walk through my video." And then Joey's like, "Hey, they're just going to the gym." And he's a big dude too.
He reposts their videos and
Yeah.
he pretty much shits on them for
Yeah.
them shitting on other people in the gym.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm like, there's times I've helped some women at the gym and they're genuinely appreciative and whatever. But there's times it's like you go to help or you offer some advice and people, and even men too, they're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And I've had some guys do that. And the best is when they're like, "Yeah, whatever." And they're sitting there trying to like dumbbell bench like 40 or 50 pounds and like struggling. I'm like, all right, and then I grab the 120s and I'm sitting there 15 reps, busting it out, and they're looking at me like, okay, man, hey, you got some tips?
One-handed.
And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, maybe, hey, you got some tips? And I was like, now you want tips? Like, I just offered to help you. But now you see that I'm serious. And I think a lot of what throws people off too is, I always get shit for saying this, but I feel like I am genuinely fat. Like, I got the gut, and people are like, oh, you're not fat. I'm like, if I say it, it's fine. But
You got a strongman build right now.
yeah, but they'll see the gut, and I think they assume I don't know what I'm talking about.
So like, you should carry a picture perfect picture in your pocket.
Show what I used to look like.
This is what I used to look like.
That's it. And then you show a picture of me winning the title. Like, this is what I fucking. This is the ass.
This is what I wish I looked like. This is the asshole that drove me to it.
He's the reason I started picking up hot dogs instead of protein drinks.
Find your Danny to motivate you.
Dude, he's probably still got a picture of me fucking in his room, fucking throwing darts at it and shit.
Like
Fucking
what is it?
asshole.
Like Rocky IV, just like Rocky IV. He's got the poster, rip it down, like, and then fucking climbing the mountain, Danny.
Next thing you is GQ. Don't worry about it. God damn it! Still
Yeah.
won't answer my friend request.
It's still there. I think it's still there. But yeah, no. Ultimately,
GQ. There you go. Answer.
ultimately, like when I decide to hang it up, that's what I'd like to do. I mean, if I could start it in between that point, that'd be cool. But it's also, I'm like, it's hard to find. To me, it's hard to find somebody that is interested in the wrestling, because I'm like, even though right now I only do it once a month, but I'm like, if I go back to POW, I told Jimmy I want to do it just once for him too. So you're talking twice a month, and I'm like, it's hard to find that person like Scott with Angela, like somebody who's kind of okay with it, and she was already in the business too. But you know, how do you find somebody that actually shows up and is willing to go with you? Otherwise,
You don't
it's like,
need that, man. My wife never shows up to the shows. She supports it in her own way, but you
Yeah.
don't need that. I always feel like people like put too much goddamn emphasis on it. The relationship being like supporting like that. Oh, they need to be in there. It's like, no, man. People need their individuality. They need to like have their own thing. You know.
see, that's where I overthink, man. That's always the overthinking part. That's I never get out of my own head with that, but.
Get yourself a bodybuilder chick.
That's
No,
I mean,
bro.
I've
Some
tried
chick that's
to,
like
man.
Bigger than
beefy-
you,
yeah, some
voice is
beefier
deeper than
you.
yours.
I don't know.
That's it.
If somebody that can break me in half. That'd be
Yeah.
crazy, man. But no, there's,
Get your mommy, bro.
Yeah.
there's been a few, and actually there was I think I mentioned this story to a few people before, but so there was this it was a I don't know, I don't want to say I'm going to end up saying the incorrect term, I'm sure, but a midget.
Little person, bro. Little person, bro.
Yeah, definitely the wrong.
Little person, bro. Little person.
Okay, she's a little person.
He's like, I don't know if I can say the right. Little person, bro.
Dwarf.
Well, I mean, there's some people that call themselves that. You know, there's even, I mean, whatever.
That's it, because they can call themselves that.
Okay,
I can call myself a beaner. You can't call me one.
I apologize to the little person community for saying that. But so it was funny. So I saw at the gym, and she was wearing, I don't know if you know what a slingshot like for chest. So she was wearing something around her legs to like squat. So I just went up to her and was like talking to her and asking her about that, and you know, she immediately mentioned she has a boyfriend. Right, and I was like, I wasn't even hitting on her. I mean, she was cute, but I wasn't even hitting on her. I was just asking about.
She was over 18, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I have to assume.
Does she have a permission slip?
Just want to fucking make sure here, bro.
It happened one.
Get new friends. Get new friends.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Get new friends, dude. Get new friends. Go ahead.
But yeah, so she ends up mentioning right away she's got a boyfriend, and then like a week or so later, one of my buddies who is at Vasa, his name is Will. Like he's like hanging out, like using a piece of equipment that she brought. And he's like, oh yeah, she brought this nice belt. And then he comes to me like a while later because I'm doing my own thing. He's like, dude, that chick just asked me out.
The same girl?
The same girl. And I was like, it happens to me so much.
Maybe she had just broke up with her boyfriend the night before.
So I was, I mean, it's happened to me a lot of times though, where like I won't even flirt with a woman and they're like, yeah, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, I just said, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm like, I see you here every day of the week. So I'm like, oh, hey, I'm Logan. Like, I see you here all the time. Yeah, I have a boyfriend. Like, I didn't ask you that. Like, that's not the question I asked. So it was just funny because, like,
did I tell you my last name?
Yeah,
Should lead with that, bro.
My name's Logan Woodcock.
So yeah, it definitely that happens. That's also why I try to avoid. It's weird. It's like I want to find a woman at the gym, but I try to. It's at the same time I'm like avoiding because I don't want to get caught in that vicious circle where they're like naturally assuming you're just hitting on them. I'm like, sometimes I'm just trying to talk.
Try dating that.
You know
bro.
what, man? I was just gonna tell
Those
you,
don't
Danny. We need a whole episode where fans call in for dates with Logan.
That's it. Y'all listening right now. We will be taking calls, emails, social media DMs. If you want to go on a date with
Slide
Logan,
into the friggin'
hit us up.
Salud Cabrones
Slide in
DMs.
the DMs.
Slide in
We'll
them.
hook you up with a date with Logan.
Dude,
man.
it'll be like the dating game, and like we set out Logan on dates and shit, and then
That's
he
it.
comes back and tells us about it.
That's
It'd
it.
be great.
It's like that show. What was that show called back in the day? With
Dating game.
Was it the dating game? Something like that?
No, it was something different on MTV. What was it called?
Oh, I know what you're talking
You know what
about.
I'm talking about? Singled Out.
There it is. Yeah.
Singled Out.
Bam, dude. Look
That's
at that.
it. See, there you go.
We're gonna get Logan a forever mate. We're
That's
gonna
it.
get him.
At some point it'll happen, but you know, I'm not. I mean, like right now,
We're
I
trying
mean,
to-
either that or you're right up Germ's alley. So
dude. Okay,
Germ
so
likes himself and his big men.
he
There
does,
you go.
but yeah, but he's also married too. Like, so what? How am I supposed to? I can't swing
Slide
in.
into both of their teams.
All right, women and men. If you guys are interested in Logan, hit up the podcast.
Women and Germ.
That's it. We got this. We'll hook you up. Oh man, Logan. Yes, your queen is out there, bro.
Oh, I'm sure at some
Yes.
point, but
For all you know, I might be a little person, and you know,
I probably just pissed all of them
Jacked
off. So
up. I mean,
Little
little,
person,
person.
man.
I almost went the route of Logan there.
I think I just pissed them all off. So
you probably did. I'm sure you did.
Logan, getting back on track. Earlier, you mentioned getting under the Logan. God damn it, the Scott learning tree. When I first met Scott, I remember, you're naive in the business. You're getting in. You think you know the world, right? I was proud of myself at knowing a lot. And then I meet Scott, and I quickly realized that I didn't know anything. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, this motherfucker knows a lot about wrestling. And so me and him, that's how we hit it off,
Yeah.
We're just kind of always talking that. And so right now you're talking about getting under the learning tree. What kind of lessons are you learning from Scott that are different from, say, Danny and you guys, when you guys were first new in the business, getting taught in the ring by Scott? Now it's different. You're an adult. You're basically his peer at this moment in time, right? You're his coworker,
Yeah.
and he's still kind of teaching you some lessons there. What is it that you're learning from him?
honestly, just really, I feel like the art of working and learning to just go out there and feed off the crowd and listen to them. Not worrying so much. I mean, really the ultimate goal that I know I'd like to learn from him that I know he can do is only know the finish and then just go out there and do whatever. That would be, if I could pull that off, that would be amazing because that's something I know he can do. where he would know the finish and then just go out there with anybody. He could just go out there with any of us right now and work a match start to finish, and all he would know is who's going over and doing what. So yeah, and honestly, the lessons he teaches a lot. Like we'll watch old tape, and he'll show me certain I don't want, like, for a better term, spots, but what guys are doing and just like how they're taking their time and how they're selling. And he's like, somebody will do just a punch, and you'll see a guy sell, and like 20-30 seconds go by before the next thing happens. And I'd like to see that done today, and that's something I try to instill in people. I'm like, if I give you, if I was working you and I give you a big forearm to the back, you should be selling for a little bit, like, maybe 5-10 seconds, like just stay down there for a little bit, like not dead, but stay down there. And that way, like, I can kind of gloat, because it's like I'm bigger than you. Like, why should you pop up right away, And that was stuff you would see back then. Like, you rarely saw people doing like 30 body slams a match, which you'll see today, or this or that. Like, you would do one body slam, and that was like the huge thing, and it'd be nice to go back to that. And again, I still believe it can happen. I believe that the wrestlers themselves can dictate to the crowd what. I know there are people that want to see certain things, but I think you can dictate to them what they want to see.
I agree. The only issue with that, I feel like wrestling has evolved so much. Like, put it this way, there was a quote. I can't remember exactly who said this, but it might have been Jim Cornette, where he talked about like this one wrestler that, he came in, did things that, weren't used to being seen, and everyone hated, and everyone shit all over and said, this person wouldn't last in the business. And lo and behold, that was Harley Race.
Yeah.
And then, like, how are people shitting on Harley at this point in time? But because he was new and he was doing things that weren't, common.
Yeah.
And now we regard him as a freaking legend.
Oh, yeah.
So in a sense, wrestling has to evolve. And while I agree, I do love the old school a lot more than the new school, I feel like the new school now, if you sprinkle a little bit of the old school, that's a nice hybrid that can live there. But I don't think the old school 100% could live in today's standards because of TV anymore. I think it's too slow. I think unless you have a really great storyline, it cannot live the way it is, because the people that are out there working right now, they're far more athletic than any of the guys in our times ever were.
Yeah.
So we have educated the fans nowadays on the fact that these guys can go out there and do these amazing moves. Now they need to see them. But if you do them in an educated way, and in order for them to make sense, and sprinkle a little bit of the old school, I think you're right. That can come back. I just don't think it could actually ever come back 100%.
I forget who said it, but it might have been Ted DiBiase. Somebody said it where kind of what you said, but where how athletic they are. But I think the issue today is that everyone is relying more on their athleticism and their build and everything, as opposed to the storytelling aspect. Yeah. So I remember hearing that they were like, oh, you're going out there and you're cutting 10, 20-minute promos to tell your story, as opposed to going in the ring and telling your story and maybe cutting a 3-minute promo or something. And so I do agree with you that I think you can combine the two. And I fully agree, and I've talked to Scott about this, that I don't think you can go fully back. But I think you can start to grab the crowd and bring them back a bit. But it's like you have to tell them that you're going back, or just subtly do it and slowly start to move back and find that middle ground where you're telling a story in the ring and doing the athletic stuff that everyone can do today. But yeah, no, just because, like I said, when I watch it today, it just, there's certain guys I think can, like, was it Gunther? I think it is. Like, I think he can definitely work an old school style, and he's considered one of the greatest wrestlers in the world right now.
Yeah, he's a huge throwback.
Yeah. And, but you don't have a lot of guys like him. You have a lot of guys relying on their athleticism, and it just gets annoying when you see, 27 finishers in a match and the guy's kicking out at one.
I agree.
And nothing is protected anymore. I miss the days where, somebody used to hit their finisher and that was pretty much it. Like, the only time it wasn't it is if the ref was out, or if you hit your finisher and you didn't cover right away because you were too exhausted. Or like, Shawn Michaels hitting the Sweet Chin Music and then he can't cover right away. And then he crawls over, finally gets it 1, 2, and then the guy kicks out because he had time to rest. Not Sweet Chin Music lands on top of him, 1 kick out. And it's like, what? And you see it today too, where some guys will hit their finisher right in the beginning of a match. Or I think the biggest thing I've heard was guys using a move that they've never won with before, and the guy kicks out, and you're like, what? How did he kick out? It's like, yeah, but you never used this to win before. Like, why are you shocked he kicked out?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but like I said, I think it can go back, can slightly go back, but like you said, especially, I forget who I was reading. I think it was I was reading Kane's autobiography, and he mentioned, especially with the advent, like with TV and everything, like you really can't go fully back.
Yeah.
And you know, like guys like, you know, Vince really capitalized on taking over with the TV, and that's kind of what also killed the territories, was because he took the TV and utilized it because technology was there, and nobody else wanted to use it because they thought, oh, that's stupid. He did it. He's still around. They're not.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and I mean, well,
you know.
to that extent, yeah.
He's out there making other kinds of movies.
Yeah. But yeah, there's certain territories like started to get in on it, and then, but it was too little too late. So
Yeah.
I see what you're saying though. So
But I don't know what the hell these guys are doing over here, man. For everyone wondering why we keep laughing and like making jokes, we have an audience member here with us today, so it's kind of making it a little extra funny for us. But no, man, no, I completely understand what you say, man. I think the landscape of wrestling definitely has changed.
yeah.
Some for the bad and some for the better.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, like you said, now I feel like the curtain's being pulled like all the time now. You know, especially with like these new wrestling shows they got coming out.
Yeah.
Now a lot of these wrestlers, they have their podcast, and they I'm surprised like even Taker be pulling the curtain back on his podcast. You know.
Well, The Rock yesterday. Did you guys hear what he said after SmackDown went off the air?
No.
He talked about the idea of kayfabe and the idea that it probably won't ever come back, but he liked the idea of like sprinkles of kayfabe coming back, just because it can help navigate, like, you know, push certain stories.
Yeah.
And he said that it's hard, and this is like literally the owner of the company now, right? Because he's
Pretty
part
much.
of the board, and this is the main guy telling this post SmackDown, saying that their own show, which is that LFG, Let's Fucking Go show, he goes, the fact that they're showing commercials during the show, and in the show itself, they're talking about they're working their spots. Because it then takes away from then all of a sudden that commercial is done, and here you go back to live SmackDown. Now, for those people that don't know, maybe the little kid watching, all of a sudden they're like, hey, wait, what the fuck what did I just see on commercial?
Yeah.
And it's letting me in on what some of this is going on. The Rock literally said that right after SmackDown went off the air on the press conference for Mania.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
hear that one.
And that, when I heard that, I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to catch up on this, but like that is monumental.
Yeah.
That man said that, considering his position in the company right now, because that could only mean that now he's going to be like, yo, we need some of this shit back.
Yeah.
When he said that, I was like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, I didn't give a shit about Mania anymore. I was like, wait, rewind. Talk to me more about this.
Yeah.
You know, that was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's good to hear that. But no, brother, as we start winding down here, man, what's next for Mr. Woodcock?
Other than hating.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of hating, obviously. You know, I gotta do that.
Remember, dude, it's little people, bro. Remember that, all right?
For next,
Yeah,
for
he's
next time,
hated
yeah.
on you and on little people, on chicks that turn them down, like, just like
Man.
everyone.
You have to, man. That's what keeps you going.
Hey.
No, dude. Honestly, just gonna stick around for, like I said, at least for another 5 years. You know, but and then after that, I might call it. We'll see where I'm at. You know, I really thought at some point, because of my hernia surgery, I was like, dude, I don't know if I'm gonna go past another year, because I felt like my body was crap. But then started doing a workout with Hunter Payne once a month, where we do 1,000 reps. Man, it's crazy. Each body part gets 100 reps, and so in total we do like 1,000 to 1,200 reps in a workout, and it's brutal. Like, you feel it the next couple days. But he's been doing that to keep himself going, so I started doing that. Honestly, I got to start doing some yoga again too. I used to do the DDP yoga, and that really helps out your back.
Yeah.
Got to start.
I need to
getting,
go back doing that myself also, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I don't know, man. That's about it. I mean, I will admit, I have thought about the end. I know what I want to do, but I don't. I'm hoping it'll happen. But I'm keeping that one. Only two people know what it is, and I'm keeping that close to the chest.
Okay.
So, and they're not telling anyone either. So, like in terms of wrestling, like how I want to go out.
Right.
So, yeah. And I just told, like, some people have asked me, and I was like, I'm not telling anybody. The only people who know are the two people that would be involved. And that's about it.
That means if we don't know, we're not involved.
We're not involved, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sucks.
that's
I
it.
thought for sure you'd be involved where he beats you for some sort of title.
Something, you know.
Or I got to watch you win a title.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I got to sit there while you win it. Go to a brand new company in your debut and win it.
On your social media, we don't usually talk politics on the show, but on your social media, you are insanely opinionated. There's some stuff that you put up there, and I'm all like, okay, that's Scott. That's definitely Scott.
Scott or Logan?
Logan. I'm sorry, that's Logan. It's definitely Logan. And it could be about anything. Like you got very strong opinions sometimes about sports, and sometimes about the state of Illinois, and sometimes about the country as a whole. Yes. And I look at that, and I'm all like, sometimes in this day and age, we worry a lot about people canceling us, especially doing what we're doing. Like me and Danny are very conscious sometimes about some of the stuff that we put up there because we don't want it to negatively affect the podcast. Things like that, like wrestlers right now.
This episode might
fucking
put
it. If I do that, whatever.
At least within the little person community.
Oh my god!
If I cost you money, let me know how much it is.
But you are fucking not afraid, man.
No, and for a little bit,
I commend that to you because that takes balls in this day and age to just go out there and say some stuff like that. Because you're not scared.
It's sometimes to me, it's so there's a lot of people I work with, and obviously you guys do too, where you're not going to agree with everybody. And so for a while when I came back, I was trying not to post a lot of stuff because I'm like, I work with people that are in this community, that community, do whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to try to offend anybody. But then I started seeing those very same people that I would consider friends or people that I'm close with were doing exactly what I said I wasn't going to do. They're going out there posting stuff saying, oh, if you think this, then I hate you. Or if you don't think like I think, I hate you. And I just started thinking, I'm like, you know what? If they're not worried about offending me, why do I care if I offend them? And I think in life, that's kind of how it has to be. And as long as you're not out there tossing out certain words like I accidentally apparently did in this podcast.
Toss out quite a few, my friend.
Then what's, to me, there's no problem. Like a lot of what I know some people are going to come at me, but there's a lot of people that I was shocked that actually at times will agree with what I've said, where I'm like, damn, I didn't know that guy thought the same way I did, or this person thought how I did.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just feel like if you really think strongly about something and you want to say something, go ahead. I will be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff that I was almost going to post that I never posted, and I was like, and it wasn't like offensive stuff. It was just
I've been there.
I've
even typed the whole bitch out.
Yeah.
I was like,
it was just whether it's commenting on something or a post where I was like, ultimately I'm like, it's not really worth it. I'm like, this isn't worth my time. So I'm like, even though you just took the time to type it all out, you're like, whatever. And so, but yeah, it's just, I mean, it's funny because I think you mentioned that to me before too about that. You're like, yeah, you post a lot of, I don't do it as much as I used to. Like before, when I stopped wrestling, I was posting stuff all the time. But when I came back, I was like, okay, I know there's going to be some people that aren't going to like this, so I won't do it. But
that girl from the gym probably saw your fucking comments and shit. Fuck this
she probably did, yeah.
No, I know that guy.
An anti-vaxxer, goddammit.
It's, I mean, it is what it is. And I mean, if I would say this, if that's why I'm not getting bookings, then hey, so be it. I'm like, I'm not going to, I guess.
It's your anti-DEI stance.
Yeah, that might be it too. So, but no, it's
Jazz is over there like, what the fuck?
We were keeping him kayfabe, bro.
Who?
Jazz.
Who's that?
Some hooker.
Man. I mean, I like I said, I just feel you can't be afraid to say what you want to say. Again, as long as you're not going out there intentionally trying to offend somebody. Which
you're right.
I've seen people do that.
There's people that purposely put stuff out there to
Yes.
offend people.
Yes.
Yeah, me and Danny have this conversation all the time, and some of them we share locker rooms with.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that's how you really feel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Danny and myself have had that. We're like, wow, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, we've shaken this person's hand, and yet here we are, and he's blatantly saying stuff that is insanely disrespectful, but we're like, whatever. Okay, cool. It completely changes the way you look at somebody sometimes.
Well, and to me, it's like if I ever said anything that like you guys took a certain way, I would appreciate it. And because I've done this for other people, I would appreciate it if you came to me and were like, hey man, and talk to me. Because I've had a few people do that with me. They come to me and talk to me, or I've talked to other people.
They're called little people, man.
About things. And it's like, I think we've gotten away from that in this day and age. Because again, it's the technology age. Everyone's on their phone. So they see what you say, and rather than talk to you as a man or as a person, they're just like, oh, fuck that guy. And it's like, well, why don't you see how this person actually thinks? And Scott and I actually do a lot of that. Like, Scott and I don't agree on a lot of stuff. I mean, you guys had the interview with him. Like, so I believe in God. He doesn't. But we've talked, and he believes in a spiritual sense. Like they go to the graveyards and stuff, and I've been there with them a few times. And
y'all can keep that shit to yourselves, man. Can't catch me in no fucking graveyard looking for fucking ghosts and shit.
But they believe
hell no.
But like
ghosts.
So there's like a commonality there. But Scott likes to have dialogue to like see people's opinions and beliefs. And I never go out of my way to shit on somebody, and he never does this. He's the same way. Like, we'll talk about stuff. We might disagree or we might agree, but we never are like, oh, you're dumb for thinking this. And so that's what I tell people. I'm like, if I say something offensive, just come to me, talk to me one-on-one. Don't comment on my stuff and say it. If you're really offended, come to me and talk to me, and we can talk it out.
Well, you are unapologetically yourself.
Yes, I try to be.
Yes,
and I learned that a lot from Mikey Wild.
There's nothing wrong with that, brother. But no, man. We want to say thanks, brother. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us today, bro. We hope you had a good time.
I did, man. It was fun.
Yeah,
appreciate the invite.
This hour and a half went by quick.
It did.
Did we do an hour and a half?
Yeah, hour and 35 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah. So this is where we take it home, man. Before we head up out of here, man, any last things you want to say? Put your social media out there. Put your fucking your Tinder and all that stuff out there, bro.
Come on, get
just
them likes, girls. Slide in them DMs,
slide
girls.
DMs. There you go.
I mean, I am on Bumble and Hinge, but that's about it. But those don't work, man. They really don't. I've been on there for a while. They don't work. But no, social media wise, just Facebook. I'm Logan Woodcock. I don't do Logan Steele. I don't do a separate page. And then my Instagram is technically still my page, but it's UP for Ultimate Powerhouse _ Logan Steele. And I mean, I have a Twitter, but I'm not on it that much, so it's irrelevant to me.
Does it usually follow like an infinity sign with like dash 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 and then a capital D?
Always. So yeah, that's about it, man. I just thanks again for inviting me. I feel like it's a long time. I almost thought I was never going to be on here. I was like, man, those guys hate me.
Racist.
No, bro. We love you, brother. Good luck tonight. I know you got a match tonight.
Oh yeah.
Up in Southland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell Scott we say hello, man.
We'll do.
Miss him. Give Jazz a hug and a kiss for me, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
I feel like he's closer to us than than he actually is.
He's always in our hearts.
He's always here.
He is.
He's here in spirit.
He is. To ask him about baton dick.
Okay, we'll do.
Ask him about that.
I didn't know about that.
He loves that story. He loves that story.
Jordy, so deep.
Yeah, he loves it. Yes. But no, brother, thank you again for coming and hanging out with us, dude. We appreciate it. Damn, what's going on over there? No, thanks again, bro, for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Hope you had a good time.
I did.
We did, for sure. So once again, thanks to Mr. Logan Woodcock for hanging out with us today.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan, for coming and hanging out with us today, man. Big special thanks to our sponsors, the Law Office of Christopher Hoff and a Taco Villa in Villa Park. Big shout out to Chris and Bear Mysterio. Appreciate y'all, fellas.
Head over to Pro Wrestling Tees and buy some shit, bitches.
Head over to Pro Wrestling Tees. Buy yourself some fucking merch, man. ProWrestlingTees.com. Put it in the search engine. Salud Cabrones Podcast. Fucking rock out with us, man. Come on. Don't hate.
Rock out with your woodcock out.
Yep. Rock out with your woodcock out. There you go. Don't hate. Don't discriminate. Participate, y'all. Come on now. Logan, as you know, this is the part of the episode where we raise up our beverages. And we sign off with a toast, just saying salud, cabrones. So when you're ready, brother.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Salud, cabrones.
Fuck you, Jazz.
We out.